I became world champion when I was 16 years old. At that time, kickboxing was, you would not make a lot of money. If I would have accomplished what I accomplished today, I would have made millions. I can say easily that if you're A-type and you can follow instruction, you can trust and follow, it will work for you. So the discipline is doing the things that everybody doesn't want to do. I think we're talking about the famous. Do you stretch your client after your session? Like, do you do like stretch session at my apartment?
Okay, so next one, Sarah Jessica Parker.
I'll tell him a few things. Number one, thank you, and number two, I'm not surprised for what he did. No. Yeah. Knowing who he is, doing more for me than himself. I'm not surprised.
Thomas Canestraro. Did I say that correctly?
You say it right.
Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Man, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I'm sure you hear this all the time.
No.
No? Not really, right?
Never.
Cool. Please tell me something about you. Where were you born? When did you move to New York?
So I was born in France, in a little town in the suburb that's called Villeneuve-le-Roi.
Wow, I don't want to repeat that.
Yeah, it's close to Orly, the second main airport in Paris. It's a suburb. I always say that I'm from the Brooklyn of Paris, and I moved in New York in 2011. Yeah, I was 25 years old.
2011.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to move to New York?
So it's the shorter story is I met a girl in France. I met an American girl partying in a club, and we dated for 6 months. She was studying in France, in Paris, and she had to come back to finish NYU, to finish her school. And at that time, I just got my master's degree, and I was wondering, should I follow, should I come, should I not come? And I asked my mom, what do you think? And she said, you just got your diploma, you don't have a job yet, you don't have kids yet. As like eventually, if you want to make that kind of move and try it out later on, you'll be stuck. Because every time your job will hold you back, your family will hold you back. I was like, this is the perfect time. If you want to go. This is the right time to do it. So I packed up my bag and I came for 3 months as a tourist just to see how it will go. And 12 years later, I'm here.
So your mom really supported you. This is great.
Yeah, my entire family supported the move. I think nobody had any idea that this was going to be permanent. But I don't think it's permanent. I think it opened up my eyesight on I can move and I can do anything anywhere. But right now it does make sense for me to be here. This is where the opportunities and what I'm doing, what I'm content to do is happening, and there is a lot of opportunities for it. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad to hear that. So you were 6 or 7 when you started sports. What did you start first?
I was 5.5 when I started Taekwondo. The whole story is I'm going to a martial art festival with my family, and I see people breaking bricks, sticks, plank, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to break everything. So we registered for Taekwondo, but Taekwondo is a Korean martial arts, really boring, a lot of discipline. You can't run around. You have to like stay in the same position for hours, learn the kata. So I was just too active at that time, and it was just really boring and annoying for me. But the class right before the Taekwondo was kickboxing, and every time I would come early, put my kimono, get ready, and watch the end of the kickboxing class before going to Taekwondo. And at the end of the year of Taekwondo, my dad was like, well, would you want to try the kickboxing? And I said, yeah, sure. And I got stuck in it for the rest of my life.
So what did you like the most when you started kickboxing? What did you fall in love with?
I don't know what I really liked it at that time. I think I was just a kid that needed to have an extra activity at that time. It wasn't really, oh my God, I want to do a kickboxing. It was a conscious choice. It was mostly, it happened to be there, and I started it, and I liked it, and I got good at it. And as I said, a lot of people who looked at me say, oh, you became world champion. But for me, the evolution was never, people who looked at me, oh, you're a world champion, they look at me from the bottom of a staircase, and I was on the top. And I'm like, well, it doesn't look this way for me. It's like, I just walked up one step at a time, one step at a time. So it never felt like, oh my God, I have to get all the way on top. I was just so young. So I just went up one step at a time, and it only felt like every time, oh, this is just another little step, another bigger competition, just over.
I love that. So tell me, so when did you realize first that you are really good at it?
I don't know if I really realized that I was good at it. It was just, I was committed to the sport, and my dad was supporting me. My dad never pushed me, but he was supporting me, and the competition was really fun. I love the competitions, and my dad was only telling me, it's not like soccer. If you don't train, it's not like you're gonna miss the ball and you're out of breath and you can't run after the ball. It's like, if you're not trained, you're gonna get beat up. So if you're not training, you're not going to compete. So that really got me to go way more to training. I was like, okay, I want to compete. This is so fun. This is exciting. So I was training a lot.
When was your first competition? When was that?
I started competition probably at 7 years old after a year being in kickboxing. But you have to remind yourself that when you're kids, the competition are also like, you cannot have a knockout. You don't, the strengths of the punches and the kick, they're very controlled, and this is really adapted for kids. So you started to do what we called light contact. So you cannot knock down, and if you hit too hard your opponent, you get point taking away. So it's really way more on the technique, which I do believe it's great, because eventually when you're 16 years old and you can transition to what we call the full contact, you should already being very technical, and adding the strengths is pretty easy.
So you were very technical. You created a technique around 16. You said that was perfect after that. I mean, come on. And tell me something about that your drive and everything else when you became a world champion. So tell me something about that period of time.
So I became world champion when I was 16 years old. And as I said, it's not really something I'm like, oh, I'm going to become world champion. Every competition was just one step harder, a little step harder. So every single time that you would win a competition, you will be qualified to go to something else. And luckily enough, my gym at that time, we will compete in different variety of boxing. So we'll do savate, we'll do regular boxing, we'll do kickboxing, we'll do American boxing. So we'll have all the different types. So I would stay pretty active, and I would have competition almost every weekend or every 2 weekends. So by the age of 16, I had just so many experience in different fighting discipline.
What about fear?
Fear.
I'm asking about when you go to compete, let's say the finals. It's the main fight for becoming a world champion. How much fear did you experience in that time? If you remember, if you recall.
I don't think it was fear. I think there was more anxiousness, a little bit of stress. It's like when you get I feel like it's for any artist when you get on stage, especially when you go in front of a lot of people. But as I said, I was competing almost every weekend, for an experienced period of time. So
that was your nature.
Yeah, it wasn't once you do something when you're really young, it's almost like it's a game. Originally, it's almost a game, and it was almost something you get used to it. So the fear and the anxiousness came a little later when it was bigger fight, especially when I turned professional. But I had this thing about, I will almost sleep before my fight. I will almost lay down, put a hoodie on, and almost really relaxed. And eventually later on, way later, around 30 years old, when I started to look into meditation, I realized that it was basically meditation for me.
You just didn't know it is.
I just didn't know what it was. But before any of my fight, people almost will say, well, you look sleepy. Yeah, because I will be laying down, try to calm down. That also come up with my dad, who kind of restraining me to do anything before a fight. I will see all the other kids running around, playing soccer here and my dad will say, no, you stay over here, you don't move, you don't waste your energy. Once you compete, once you're done with your fight, you do whatever you want.
How much do you think the dad helped you in the whole process? How much the parents are actually involved in our success when it comes to sports and anything else in our life?
I have to say that I believe that my dad is a major part of it. Not because he forced me, but just because he pushed the discipline into me, the discipline of the training, the discipline. And I gotta say, my dad, for over 15 years, I probably could count on my hand the number of training that he missed being sitting on the bench. And in any discipline in sports that any of your friend or any of the kids you know like are doing, ask yourself how many dad will be there 4 to 5 times a week for the entire amount of the training, sitting on a bench, just watching your kid, just being there, not saying anything. It's like I had like a tremendous support at that time. And eventually he was working, and he also was involved with the boxing gym. He became president of the boxing gym at some point, just to help me, just to support me, just to help like the better work of the team, to have better subvention, to be able to go to more competition. So he got involved to support my passion, what I was doing. So I do believe that my dad was a huge part of it. My mom was supporting me also. It was hard for my mom to watch me getting punched in the face. That's always the thing about the mom. In a good way, and she was always there like to come. She will not come to every competition, but she was coming a lot. She was really more in the back, but she was supporting and allowing it to happen. But my dad was more in the forefield, like right in the front.
Is there any bad moment during the kickboxing that you recall, so you can mention? Right now?
I don't think. I mean, I did had a bad experience. One time I experienced like it's weird for me to say, but one time I experienced really a bad thing that happened in the locker room, like as I was training. But it was mostly like comment from outside people. It was really like, it's weird to say it, but it was racism. It was like I grew up like in a very diverse community where I was accepted with everybody, and because I was one of the oldest member, I started when I was very young. I've seen so many people coming and leaving. But one time somebody who had nothing to do there and shouldn't, but came in the locker room and just told me white people have nothing to do in a boxing gym. And at that time, it was in front of everybody, and I was almost like, well, like I just became world champion. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it wasn't about like race. It was all about like, if I took it more like you don't deserve to be here, and it almost like, well, like I actually do. I actually worked like way more, and it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it was just somebody who will show up punctually, who had nothing to do. So that's an event that really like kind of put me like in self-doubt for a second, and it took me a little bit to process, but eventually down the road, I think it was towards when I was 20 years old, because my first big professional fight was the day of my birthday, of my 21st birthday.
When is it?
So June 14. So June 14 was planned to be my first European belt professional. And about like 9 months before that, about a year, I got in an argument with my dad. And so I wasn't living with my dad anymore. I stayed at my mom, and my dad wasn't there during all the training camp and didn't show up to the night of the fight. And it was the first time after him being here all of these years that I had to go through that on my own, which I did, and I won that fight. And the same night,
was it first professional fight?
It wasn't the first professional fight, but it was the biggest professional fight that I had.
Okay.
So after the fight, I still did a little. My trainer was like, Thomas, like, you got to say a little word about your dad. So I did, and I packed up my belt and I went to see him. So it was almost like probably like 10 months that I haven't talked to him, and I went to the house and I went to knock at his door, and I was like, Dad, I won. And he's like, tell me, get the fuck out of here. I think he was just so pissed at me, and I think he was also very frustrated that he couldn't be here. And it's funny enough, like the last time I went to France, probably a couple of months ago, which is 12 years after, or it's like, no, 16 years after that fight, he's like, hey, I would really want to see that fight that I missed. And I'm like, I don't know. At that time, it was not that much video, but I said, like, I'll do what I can, and I know somebody who has it. So it's interesting that 16 years later, like, he still think about it.
Wow, this is great. Thank you for sharing this. How did you feel that moment when you came back, you opened the door, you told him that you won it? Can you recall the feelings?
You talk about fear. I hadn't talked to him for a long time, so I had to. It was an ego thing about coming back to him, and I just was like, okay, I got to be the smarter person, and I got to show respect, and I just got to do it. And yeah, I was excited. I was expecting this to be the moment that I say, okay, like, we're dropping whatever's going on. It's time for, and it did not happen. So it was pretty disappointing. But my stepmom at that time helped me and helped him to work this out and say, hey, like a week later, she's like, hey, Thomas, like, come back. Like, I talked to your dad. Like, we'll make it work. Come on, like. And I was pretty like, well, like, I already like pushed my boundaries and put my ego on the side, came back, like, and she's like, no, you have to do it. Like, you have to do it again. So I took my pride, put it on the side again, and it's my dad. So I went back and things worked out. And since then, we did not had anything that way. It put us closer overall.
Amazing story. Thank you for sharing again. I got chills. It's emotional, but also it's great. It's great to hear. And then afterwards, the relationship became even stronger, I guess. And
yeah.
This tells us how it's important for us to put ego on the side sometimes, even though we all know how big your ego has to be to get where you were and where you are. And it's totally understandable. It's so great. And this is amazing. You should be proud of it. Okay, cool. You're becoming professional. You're having more fights, right?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between between being professional and not being professional? Tell me the difference between, like, the whole approach. I mean, your approach probably was the same. Your discipline, when you have a discipline, it stays the same. But tell me how different are matches, fights, between professional or your approach as well?
So it's very specific to the discipline of kickboxing, or between being amateur and professional, because when you're amateur, it's basically you on a circuit, like, so all year long you basically have different championships that you can compete, you can register for it. When you become professional, you don't really know when is your next fight. It's more when you're going to sign it. So it's a different approach. Because if you're really goal-driven, to stay focused and to train with no goals, to not know when is your next fight. And I think this is what also got me lost when I turned professional. It actually, like, not knowing when is my next fight and what I'm training for was very complicated. But the big difference is when you turn professional, you basically know who you're going to fight. It's not anymore like a championship. You're coming on the weekend on 3 days. You're going to fight multiple times. Like, you may have like 5 or 6 fights on 3 days. It's like, now you have one fight. You know who you're fighting. You know when you're fighting. And you just have to get ready for it. So it's a little... And there is... I think when you become professional, it's almost, well, like, no, it's big game. You take your training. I don't know. It did feel like the transition of, like, okay, now this is choice. This is not a game anymore. Your training is important. It's part of this. You're gonna make money out with this. So there is the monetary aspect that is involved. At that time, kickboxing was such a low promotion that you would not make a lot of money. If I would have accomplished what I accomplished today, I probably will make millions.
Wow.
I would have made millions. And at that time, like, it was just like, we didn't have the same marketing, the same promotion. Internet it just was a different era, a different time, and a different discipline. But with the accomplishment that I had in the sport that I had today, yeah, I probably will be rolling on money, but
Oh.
it humbles you in some way.
All right. If you can go back
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to your childhood decisions, when it comes to everything we just spoke, would you change anything, or you would just keep the same? If you can talk to small Thomas, do you think you would make some changes?
It's hard. It's hard. I don't think if I would talk to small Thomas, I probably would have told him to pay even more attention. But I don't think
What things?
even in training, I think like you can always do better. Now I don't know if the small Thomas would have listened if this would have been that serious. I think the part of it it's because it was fun, and I think that's what also why I got so far in it. But not the young Thomas, but the Thomas toward the end of this professional career, when Thomas Wright, who moved to the United States, moving to the United States, we probably will talk about it a little later, but kind of stopped me in my career and slowed me down in my career, because I had to transition in something totally different. And eventually now 37, and when I'm still like a huge like fight fan, and I love it. I love the sports. I love the mixed martial arts. So if I could talk to the Thomas toward the end of his career at that time, I would tell him like, you get way more inside you, and you can keep going and going hard. And at that time I kind of lost the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it for so long that it was almost like, from 6 years old to 26, it's already a lot. But when you understand that 26 probably was the beginning of your prime, and that you could have done way more, I would have told myself, hey, I know you think you reached the top of the mountain, but there is way more, and the mountain go way higher. And I do want to say that I wish I would have stopped on failing, because it would have made me feel like that, okay, I really couldn't do better. Instead, I kind of stopped on success,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me feel like, did I really challenge myself to the maximum of what I could have? So I would tell myself like, go to the end of the mountain, just go until like you really can't do it anymore, until you lose, until like, okay, this is time.
This is amazing too. Another question. Small Thomas talk to his dad now, and then what do you, like when you're small, what would you tell your dad, and then what would you tell your dad now?
So if it was small Thomas who will talk to my dad, I'll say, wow, this is going for a long way. Like, thank you for your support.
And then now, when you go back and think about everything what he has done for you, and how much effort he put in, and how much motivation and support and everything else, what would you tell him now?
I'll tell him a few things. Number one, thank you. And number two, I'm not surprised for what he did. No. Yeah. Knowing who he is, doing more for me than himself, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. This is amazing, because also I got a little related to my dad as well. Great. You had a great dad. You have a great dad. That's for sure. And you really love him. I can tell. And that's amazing. It's very powerful, and you're an amazing person. All right. We're going to clear our tears and we're going to continue. This is a little more deeper than I thought. Great. Okay, you're deciding to move to US, and then you come here, and you're like transition is not easy. So I read somewhere you didn't speak any English which I got a little insecure because when you start talking, you're like, your English is great. So good job for that. That's amazing. That means you're learning like languages very quickly. So you went to college. You have master degree. It's all about sport and education about sport and masters and all of this. And you decided to teach other people. You wanted to spread your knowledge to fitness, to personal training and everything else. So what was your approach when it comes to personal training? First days in New York, tell me something about that transition. How hard was for you to adapt as someone who was very successful back home, and now it's all of a sudden you're a new guy in this crazy environment with so many different people who are as hard as you are, which is not easy, but I guess it's not easy for anybody. How was the beginning in New York?
I think it's less glamorous than it looks. It's like, yes, I had luckily enough, like due to my level of athleticism, to my experience in sport, I was able to study in an Olympic center where all the Olympians train. Mm-hmm. So I really beneficiated like from the master degree in athletic training from the best place that you could study in, with like professional scientific polls, like all of this. And I arrived in New York right after that diploma, but I'm on a tourist visa, and my goal is to also like figure it out, like more about like as a man, can I survive on my own without like asking help from my parents? And it was more about what can I do? And training is something that I was doing already in France. I was training like the youth in my boxing gym. I also trained like women in a women detention center as a big internship for my master. I was training with the professional. I trained the national team as well. So I'm like, let's get in a gym. Let's start to train people. Let's see, because they will hire me. And that's basically what happened. I went to a bunch of different gyms. It's like, hey, I have a master in athletic training. I'm two-time world champion kickboxer. I was just training the national team. And they're like, but do you have a green card? Do you have a paperwork? I'm like, no. And eventually one gym was like, well, like, we got to have you, so don't worry, we'll make it work. And Serbian owner like actually gave me a chance. And eventually probably like, I'll say like, so I did like 3 months, came back on another tourist visa. And by that time my visa situation got resolved and all of that. But I started to work probably for the first 9 months, illegally in a training, because that was a survival job at that time. Yeah. It was more about like, okay, what can I do? Well, I had the diploma. I just like, it wasn't I couldn't do anything here. I wasn't allowed to work, but because it was a little more of a gray area, they gave me a chance. And the gym wasn't the most glamorous gym. It wasn't the most luxurious, and you had to watch your back. They will steal your commission, and it was like, it was the worst. It was the best place to learn, but the worst place to work. But I learned just everything that I needed to learn that was not training related, but that was like for the training, was learned between sales and like anything about the gym. So and the owner told me, is like, you should pay me, because what you're going to learn here and you're never going to learn it anywhere else. I'm like, yeah, I can tell today, yes, that was true.
This is amazing. Just right now, I realized that that's the same place where I started, because I recall photo of you from that place. I swear I totally forgot about that. But right now, I know exactly where it is. I know everything about it. So that's great. So, okay. You have all this knowledge you want to spread out to other people. What was your approach to training? How did you help people? How did you prove yourself that you're good? What was your approach to sessions to normal, regular people with a world champion in kickboxing? It's not easy to approach regular people who just want to be healthy. And
it was very hard, because I always wanted to work with professional and athletes and people who are motivated, because for me, sharing my knowledge to somebody who doesn't really care, is not really going to appreciate it, this is not why I wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning to just come to somebody and do some babysitting sometime and training some people who are just unmotivated. It's like, I respect it, but at the same time, that doesn't drive me. And working in a fitness gym, I was now dealing with people who are not as committed with the discipline, or who are not as committed with getting result that what I wanted to work with. My master was for in athletic training, but for like high level training.
Yep.
And it felt like it was really underappreciating my diploma, underappreciating what I learned. So it felt like I was underproducing what I could. Now, I was still coming in the gym with my competitive mentality, with the champion mentality. It was about like performance. How do we optimize everything? Now, the difference is, instead of like just coming with this on the table, I had to transition to selling. Right. Because now I had to deal with people who were not really aware why they would want to work with me more than somebody else, who were not really interested in working out. Right. I had to produce sales. I had to show them why, the importance of what I could bring. And it was almost tiring at some point.
How did you sell?
We, for a couple of years, actually was one of the best salesperson there, because it was so hectic. I came with my own plan. I made a whole book with a little bit about me, a little bit of my diploma, my background.
And that helps. And helped.
That really helped, like, people to come in. And I was the only one who had really this little presentation, like, you will come, and I had my little program. So I will come, I will do assessments, I will do body weight, I will do measurements, I will do all those things that other people will not do. I try to be like, I was reading, like, there was like a book that's called Learn to Swim with the Sharks, which I recommend to any person in sales and any person in the business. It's really helped me to understand how to relate with clients and really how to cultivate clients. But I was doing all the little steps that other trainers were not doing. And that allowed me to to price my session higher and to just like sell more and do a little more. But it was all about sales, and it was almost discouraging, because I was an expert in performance and I had to produce sales.
Right. So then you realize that the personal training is about sales and psychology more than anything else, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is something that I want to talk about, because I think this is probably a reason why I started this podcast when it comes to trainers. Then you who made me cry here, but this is amazing. So yes, I want to ask you about this approach when it comes to our work, personal training work. Who are the people who succeed in achieving their fitness goals, and who are the people who just come here to maintain, have friends, not being lonely, not being bored? They need probably support. They want to escape from their partner. So what's the difference between people who actually succeed versus people who just do whatever?
I mean, it's broad, it's very diverse, but I can say easily that if you're A type and you can follow instruction, if you can trust and follow, it's really like it's an easy formula. So if you can execute the plan, it will work for you.
Please tell us the simplest plan to get results in fitness.
It's discipline. So the discipline is doing the things that everybody doesn't want to do. Number one is tracking your food. Whoever you are, if you track your food and start to realize and bringing the awareness about what you're putting in your mouth, already like you'll be succeeding like at 70% more than anybody else. Because at the end of the day, this is a pure science. It's income of energy and outcome of energy. So how much calorie do you put in your body? How much like go out? And that's a very simple math, and the body is an amazing machine that is just made to adapt. So whatever you're going to put through your body is just going to adapt. Like, so if you can just already track your food, that's one thing that will help you a lot. And after, it's the simple step of like get enough sleep, get your workout every day and get your workout, especially when you don't want to do it. Just follow the plan. If you make a plan and you follow it, it will be easy. And in this plan, you got food, sleep, train.
Workout. Tell us very short. Like, what do people need to do to have results?
So, what do you need to do to get a result? As not staying in your couch, not scrolling on your phone. That is for sure not help you. But it's based also, results are based on what your goal. What do you want to achieve? And once you're okay with your goals, because if your goal is just to be active, if your goal is just to, hey, I want to get like more like flexible, no matter what is your goals, you just have to take action. That's just what it is.
Okay.
Now, everybody has very different goals, and I do believe that in the job of being a personal trainer, a lot of time we see trainers who train everybody the same way, or will give everybody the same exercise, no matter the age, no matter the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
No. Personal training is personal. Everybody has a different goals. Everybody has a different needs. And I think the adaptation and understanding, okay, like, is my client having a good day today? Is he having a bad day? Is he tired? Did he have enough sleep? Can I adapt? Can I change? Can I be flexible? Can I like offer like situation to like, okay, if you're not gonna train tomorrow, or if you're gonna have this like client, how do you compensate with it? I think this is more what it is. It's like very personable. So everybody has a different goal. But one more time, if you have somebody who understands what is your goal, make a nice plan. What you just have to do is to follow it. It's just honestly, like, the discipline is the key. It's not how hard you go, it's how regular can you be.
Why are we making so complicated? Like, everybody, people, trainers, everybody else, do you think it's because they just want to sell?
Yeah, I think it's a trend. I think it's a trend. Like, now everybody go online, watch whoever training, whoever, like, anybody just go and say, oh, I saw this person doing this training. Great. What is this training like focusing on? What is the goal of that person when he's doing this training? It's like, we're doing a lot of like general thing, and we have this cool factor. Is it cool? And I understand that a lot of people, they have hard time identifying what they need that is different than what they want. If what you want is what you need, great. But most of the time, what you want is what you need, and what you need are very two different things. So in order to get to your goal, we're probably not going to be able to do the exercise that you want, or to have the regimen that you want, or to eat the food that you want. It's going to be what you need. And as a personal trainer, since like the mental is so important, like just making sure that this is a realistic goal, and that like people are like carrying through the process by feeling good, like, and not feeling guilty about what they're doing. You need to sometimes move the crossover. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of what you need, but for you feeling good, for the matter of fact of me wanting you to feel good, I'm going to give you a little bit of what you want, so at least you feel comfortable and you feel like that you're succeeding. So that, I think this is where, as a trainer, we have to say, okay, where do I put the balance? Some people, they will tell you like, it doesn't, I don't care what I'm doing. And some people will tell you, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And so now it become, who am I speaking with? Am I fighting with you? What kind of person are you? Can I negotiate with you, or can I not negotiate? And eventually it will come down to the reality. It's like, hey, based on what you're allowing me to do with you, here is the road that we can take. Now, if you just like listen to me, I can bring you there. If you're listening more to you, well, I might not be able to bring you there, because that road requires some steps that you're not willing to take.
Right. I'm doing some testing with myself first, and then I want to ask you, what's your opinion on if type I person who is very busy, extremely busy, like the busiest in New York, and they want to spend like 30 minutes per day in a workout. Do you believe if someone has 23 to 30 minutes to work out, and you can prescribe whatever you want, of course, not for them to get hurt, and everybody's different, but people want to have a very fast workout 2 to 3 times a week, lifting weights, 2 times 23 to 25 minutes of running or doing any cardio, and nutrition is in place, the whole system is in place, do you believe that that person can look great and feel great by doing not 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, just 25 to 30 minutes of working out?
So I have this thing about, if you're precise with me, I will tell you yes and no. And right now, I'll need even more precision. What is looking good?
Looking good is like between, let's say, 45 plus to 60 years old. And people want to be between, like, I don't know, 15 to 20% body fat, maybe even 12 to 20% body fat.
Like, I can make you look like 10% body fat at like 60 years old. Unfortunately, like, probably not with like a massive amount of muscle mass. Like, the body fat, like, is relative to like also like everything
Correct.
else. I do believe that could be, yeah. I mean, if you have like, depending also where you start, I don't know. It will be case by case.
Yeah, I'm saying like someone improves, is in a good shape, okay shape, not a bad shape, not the beginner, wants to just hit hard and is capable to do that. Do supersets, drop sets for 23 minutes to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You believe it?
I mean, I do believe that if you have a high discipline and you religiously sleep good, eat good, and train, even if it's not a lot, but regularly and hard, I do believe that you're going to look better than like the average person who doesn't eat properly the entire week, who goes up and down, skip meal, doesn't skip meal, eat too much, drink on the weekend. So I do believe that you will get like, regularity and consistency will give you the results.
Right. How many people call you, DM you, or like anything just to probably not train with you? They say they want to train with you, but they have different questions. Do you get that kind of text? And if you do, can you please share one of them that it's kind of crazy or like kind of funny?
I share something that happened last week. So
this is funny when I ask people, this is how brain works. I ask people to share something from their career, and they're like, "Oh, this happens yesterday."
Well,
our brain is so short.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's something that happened last week, which is along these lines. A lady, probably like 45 to 50 years old, asking me if I can train her in a gym apartment. I say sure. And now come down to we negotiated. I mean, we talk about the price and everything, and eventually I'm coming about like, okay, what are your goals? Because, and she said, well, I want to look better. I want to look toner. I'm like, okay, are you willing to track your food? The answer is no. I said, can we negotiate on that? Are you willing to track your food for 2 weeks? No, I don't want to track. This is too complicated, too long, too tedious. So no tracking. I say, okay. Are you willing to to work out on your own when you don't see me because I'm not gonna see you like every single day? She's like, oh no, I just want to work out with you once a week. Okay, when would you like to start? Maybe in 2 weeks, but I have to see. So it's basically like a lot of people have the fantasy of training. They would want to work out. They would want to train. They would want to think that they can change, and I get it. But at the same time, unfortunately, like, it's in order to get something you never had, you're gonna have to do something you never done. And a lot of people think they are ready, but when thing gets real, and when you bring up to them, okay, well, I'm gonna come like this Friday, I'm coming to your place, and we're gonna train from this time to this time. Oh no, not this Friday, not this time. Oh, but maybe next week. It's just like every time there are excuses. They're leaving excuses to justify why they're not getting started. So a lot of people think like they're not ready. It's really rare. It's usually one or the other. You have that person who's super ready and say, hey, I'm ready to get this started. I will do anything that you tell me. Just tell me what you do. It's not a problem. And you have the people who like, it's a negotiation.
Right. What about some texts that they're not training related? Something else. They say they want to train with you, but they mean something else.
I think we're talking about the famous. Do you stretch your client after your session? Like, do you do like stretch session at my apartment? Yeah, some of that will happen, but that's part of the fun. We should collect them. Like, we should get couple trainer collected and make a book about it. Those are the funny.
So, in order to have a book, I need you to share like one story with me. Tell me, is there anything that actually kind of happened that you remember, like that you like show up?
All right, we're going there. Okay, so this person who's been like texting me for a couple months about training and who's like visiting New York here and there, say, hey, but when I'm in New York, I really want to train and I want to train with you. You're inspiring me. There's always like, why do I want to train with you? Okay, great. Okay, so eventually, I have a hard time training people who do not want to commit for a long period of time, because I do believe that since it's the regularity of the work that will give you result, I do believe that unless you're a professional athlete who decided, hey, I'm away for a week, but I need to stay in the high performance training and I really want to train just like a couple days this week with you, I understand. But somebody who would just want to train like, oh, I just want to do like 2 weeks here or like a week there, I don't believe in that.
Right.
So, but anyways, so yes, to go back to the story, I'm getting a couple texts from this person like over a couple of months, like I want to train. And eventually when you see that this is not serious, you start this, okay, like I'm not interested, like find somebody else. And usually when you challenge people, say, no, I'm in New York next week, like I would like to work like Thursday. I'm at this hotel, like can you come and meet me and train me in this hotel? Sure. The Thursday arrive and and I'm like, well, am I meeting you? Where is the gym? Well, come to the apartment, come to the suite, like, and we'll go down to the gym. Like, sure. So I'm showing up to the suite. I'm going up, and as I'm opening the door, that person is like totally naked and say, all right, and acting like nothing is happening. Like, oh, so are you ready for the training? Like, I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna get ready. So I turn away and I close the door and block that person. But yes,
That was totally naked.
totally naked, just walking around like nothing is happening.
I love the story. Okay, cool. I need one. I just need that one. Tell me, please. So basically, okay, you are becoming, like you had a client or something. I remember who introduced you to acting, right? Like the first kind of role, or like something
more or less,
like something else.
more or less, yeah.
Mhm.
So, I ended up training somebody who owned like a clothwear line.
Mhm.
And one of the photographer for his clothing line was highly involved with like movie production.
Wow.
Yeah, I can say his name is Tim Palin, who has been like kind of a mentor for a number of years and helped me out, like, and gave me guidance. But basically, I'm doing this photo shoot for this like clothing line, and the photographer who shoot in LA, I was shooting in New York, like kind of like see a couple pictures and is asking my client, hey, who's that guy? Like, who's that new guy? And he's like, oh, this is Thomas, like, he's just my kickboxing trainer. I was like, well, like, you should like bring him to LA, we'll shoot for your brand. And so I end up like going to Los Angeles, meeting this unknown person that at that time I had no idea how much involved he was in the movie industry, but who was also like a very, very talented photographer, who was the chief marketing for Lionsgate, and so highly high profile in photography, and who ended up like shooting me and taking multiple pictures. And eventually I arrived in LA. We drove straight up to Joshua Tree, where he has like a photo studio. We took a couple of pictures, and I brought my kickboxing belt, and he takes 2 pictures of me with like holding my belt. And the next day we're going back to Los Angeles. He has another studio, and eventually through the conversation, he's letting me know, he's like, hey, like, would you ever be interested in being Expendables 3? Or like Sly is casting for Expendables 3. And I'm like, who's Sly? And he's like, do you know Sylvester Stallone? I'm like, yeah, of course I know Sylvester Stallone. I watched Rocky 3 like 300 times with my grandfather. So yeah, I do know him. That was the reference. But and matter of fact, like, he grabbed that picture that we just took like 2 days before, like, and sent him to Sly, and letting me know, hey, like, Sly sometimes answers, sometimes he doesn't answer. He's busy, so I don't wanna hype you up. Well, 15 minutes later, like, Sly is answering and saying, hey, well, the kids look good. Like, what's the details? And so we end after like few more back and forth and meeting. 3 months later, I'm meeting like some of the producer of Expendables 3.
Mhm.
Like, they end up letting me know that At that time, Expendables 3 has the new recruit, the new guy, the fresh blood. They already finished the cast for those guys. And those guys were a little higher profile than me. It was Ronda Rousey, Victor Ortiz, Kellen Lutz, Glenn Powell. So those guys like end up like being the recruit. They say, listen, those roles are filled up, but we're still gonna find you a way to like to put you in the movie. And I guess 6 months later, I'm flying to Bulgaria, where I'm the bodyguard of Mel Gibson in the movie.
So they filmed in Bulgaria, in Sofia, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Wow. This is a great story. Have you ever had a chance to like speak a word or two with Sylvester Stallone?
So it's a funny story because I end up being in Bulgaria. I get off the plane. They drove me to my pickup is this little minibus, and this lady is coming to me who gave me like a little case with, you open it up, you have the script of Expendables, you have a cell phone. It looks like, I felt like I was James Bond at that time. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? To bring me to my hotel. And I was waiting for Mel Gibson to come in because since I was on the same scene. And my first scene, my first time ever on the movie set is me in the middle of this like bridge and everything going on with a big green backdrop. And this is a scene where Mel Gibson is fighting with Stallone. And so I'm from far away and I'm watching this and I'm like, what is happening here? Like this. And the entire crew and cast is so used to it. They've been filming already all the other guys for 2 months. And it's like, okay, whatever. And I'm just like a kid dreaming. I'm like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, can I just get closer and watch it? Yeah, go ahead. And they're filming this scene. And eventually there's a cut and there was a big pause and a big break. And Stallone is like literally like, and I'm just like on the side row, like watching. I'm on a divider, and Stallone walks towards me and light up a cigar, and like just like put his back like probably like 10 yards away from me, put his back like against the divider, turn around his head and say, "What's up, kid?" And I'm just like, "Is this real?" I say, "Hello." So that was my first interaction, and later on, I got to interact a little more with him when that was a couple of years later for he did an opening for Rocky on Broadway, and I was sitting a few seats away from him, and luckily enough my friend Tim again brought me to him and just like shake his hand, and we exchanged a few words. But I'm a little shy. I'm not really the kind of guy who does the ice breaking, and I don't want to bother. And at the same time, when you have somebody like Sylvester Stallone, is always busy, always somebody who wants to talk to him, always somebody who's calling him. So, if you really, aside from being like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan, thank you so much for having me in your movie and like for giving me a chance, like I don't really want to bother you. Like I don't really have like something, like what do we want to say? Like, yeah, please like produce one of my movie, put me in all of your, no, that's not, you earn your grades and you earn your way up, and you pay your respect, so.
Okay, so next one, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah,
I wanna hear about that. So how that happened, and tell me about that experience, please.
Okay, so the Sex in the City happened in a very, very particular way. As I've been doing like acting, and I've been also doing like stunts due to my extensive background in fighting. I've been doing a lot of like different fight scene and like some like SWAT shooting and different things. I'm working on a regular basis as sometimes for double different thing in stunt world, and I get a phone call from one of the stunt coordinator that I worked with a couple of weeks before, and saying, "Hey Thomas, like, are you available like next Thursday to work on?" And just like that, which at that time I had no idea what it is. Are you available to work on it just like that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. What is it? She's like, well, you just have to drive a minibus and maybe carry one of the actor. I'm like, sure. I'm like, okay, like it's just a random job. It's just a stunt job. Okay, no problem. All right, you got it. Eventually, I get another phone call an hour later. I say, hey, Thomas, actually, you're already being casted for this role. So what I did not told her is that I do some. I have a friend of mine who cast for what we call like the featured extra. Meaning you're not an extra, it's any extra, any work where you will be very close to the main actors. So not that I don't want to do extra, but my agent manager don't recommend to do any extra job, and at the same time it doesn't pay that much. But the featured extra pays really well, and like you're still on the SAG, so it's a good way to make some money sometimes. And you never know who you're gonna meet, and you're on set and you're relevant. And so I was casted to be a featured extra on that show, which I had no idea to be one of the hot fellas. If you watch the show, you know all the bread guys. So I was fitted to be one of that guy, but just a random one. Now, what happened is they needed one that could drive the car and carry Sarah Jessica Parker. So they say, well, you've been casted to be this featured extra, but we need one that actually can be a stunt, and you perfect for that profile. And at that time, so she's letting me know at that time, so you'll be carrying Sarah Jessica Parker. And at that time, I'm like, okay, well, sure, no big deal. I was in the middle of 20,000 things. And I received an email. They said, well, we're going to send you like an audition. So at that time, I was auditioning all the time. I'm like, okay, great. Like, well, this is not confirmed until the audition gets through. I get the audition and I get the shits, and it's like one line, which is like me. So she's saying like, oh, Anthony, Mario Cantone is saying like, are you ready? And Sarah Jessica, are you ready for what? And I'm coming and just say, for me. So basically my audition was just one word, which was me. So I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, did they really need to hear me? It's like they can't even dub my voice. But fast forward, I end up like being on the set of the new Sex in the City. And what was very interesting at that time is that it was right in front of her apartment. All the press was there. So it almost felt like it was a setup. I'm like, it was a setup to succeed and to be like in a spotlight, because I'm getting a random stunt work, which is with Sarah Jessica Parker, this massive and very like super visual scene with her. And all the press is here just waiting for me to just do that. And I'm like, okay, well, like, how better could that be?
That's a dream come true for you,
That's
right?
a dream come true. And to talk a little bit about how it was to be on set there, like, I really felt included by the cast. You know, sometimes when you work with big profile or big actors, you have like big egos and you feel like, but at the same time, now that I'm really more extensively in acting school, you understand that acting is a real job that looks very easy and very accessible. So almost people like don't respect it. They don't respect the artistry that is behind it. They don't understand how much work it is.
This is great to mention.
They don't understand how much work it takes to make it look like so easy, so flawless. But how much work do you need to just do just enough, not too much? It's years and years of practice. It's years of like, it's going through like a lot of emotional like ups and downs. So I understand more why some of the actors who are in it, they don't want to be disturbed and they're like really involved in what they're doing. But I have to say everybody was very friendly, very inclusive on that set. So
that's very nice to hear.
Yeah.
And just like that.
Boom.
Love that. Great. Oh, wow. Great story, and even more amazing when you say that everyone was so great and very friendly. I want to mention one more thing. When you were naked with someone else. Who was that? There was a movie in 2018, if I don't make a mistake. And someone's husband showed up, right? And tell me, were you naked or not?
I'll tell you the details. I'm giving you a little feedback. So through all of these years, my relationship with Tim Pellins extend, and he's working on this movie, A Simple Favor.
Okay.
A Simple Favor with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. Now, he's calling me and letting me know, as like, Thomas, we did some photo shoot with different models, and it's not really working the way we want. We're going to be in New York. We want to do some different photos. It's like, would you be interested? And I'm like, sure. What is the concept? At that time, I have no idea what it is about. It's like, well, like it's to shoot with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, and the whole thing is there was back in the days, there was some like movie poster where woman was very feminized, and it's like the man is in power and is strong and like obvious dominant, and the lady are like almost naked. It's like we want to do the same thing but reverse the roles. So like those girls will be like in power position, and I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. Let's do it. And so I end up like a couple weeks later. It's in the Hudson. It's in the, I don't remember. It's Houston Street. Anyway, it's here in New York. We're doing this. The photo shoot is happening.
Good thing you didn't say Houston.
No.
You're a real New Yorker now.
Yeah. No. So a couple of weeks later, I'm ending up being on set here in New York City, and yeah, Anna Kendricks, Blake Lively are on set. I'm introduced to them, and some of the photo is me having my legs up, and I do look naked. So most of them I have a little underwear, but few of them I had like my butt is naked, and even another one that haven't been released yet. Actually, I talked to Tim not that long ago. It's me wearing this little like fishing line with a little sock just in the front. And we'll see if that one ever get published. It's anything that Tim Pelton is shooting is very tasty and is very like everything is positioned in the right way. So it's not sexual, but it's really Blake Lively look like kind of a boss. She's in dominance in all of this shot. And this was really the opposite of something that had been done in the past. I wish I had the reference of like the movie poster. I don't know what movie, but we could probably get that. But so I'm doing all of this shoot, and what I have to bring it up, like Blake Lively was so nice because most of the time I was half naked, like, and all like very, very tiny little thing. And every single time we were done shooting, she would like stand in front of me and say, "Oh, can we give a robe to Thomas?" So she was like very like protective and like paying attention. She wasn't a robot. It was very nice. And eventually Ryan Reynolds just showed up to the shoot.
After. Not from the beginning, right?
Not from the beginning. We were probably like 3/4 in. We had like just a couple 1 or 2 shots.
Okay.
But in some of the shot, we included Randall Reynolds like gin bottles. So there was some interest for him to be there.
Got it.
And he came up with with their daughter. And so I've been introduced, saying hello, very polite. And what was very interesting is how supportive was Ryan Reynolds when he saw the shots. Like, it wasn't even like, I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds, but it wasn't any insecurity or anything where he was just like, basically like, you know what you're doing, you're liking what you're doing. Like, it's like, I'm trusting you and I believe what's coming out. And at the same time, I have to say, like, Tim Pelton is just so good at what he does, and he's such a like, he's been called multiple times a marketing genius, and so he knows how to bring the attention, what to do, and how to do it. So this was really such a great like photo shoot, and like the experience there was great. And eventually I'm going to the movie premiere. I'm invited to the movie premiere, and I have to say, Blake Lively is coming out of the red carpet, walking in the movie room while I'm just sitting on my seat, and her eyes cross mine, and she's like, "Oh, hello, Thomas," which she didn't have to do, but she did acknowledge me and show me that I wasn't just like a piece of me doing a photo shoot with her. So it meant a lot, and he really like made me really value who is she, because like she's just not a movie star. She's just not a boss, not like the wife of Ryan Reynolds. She's just a full person with a lot of sensitivity and a lot of like awareness about people around her.
This is great, and it gave you also a lot of value to yourself and confidence for the future. And also when you see that these people are very nice, especially gives you like a kind of special.
Yeah, like going through it, you meet a lot of different people with different ego, with different way to handle it, and it's personal to each of them. But some people don't. There was some cases where they didn't really feel welcome or valued, and yeah, when you do a photo shoot, when you don't wear a lot of clothes, like it's easy for people to just treat you as a piece of meat. And the modeling industry is really like this. Even the acting industry, you go to an audition, and sometimes it's really about, well, you don't have the right look. You're too tall, you're too short, you're too big, you're too small, you're too slim. You don't have the eyes the proper color, or you don't have the perfect accent. Like, so it's very arbitrary, and a lot of time you don't have any feedback. So you don't even know.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's very unrewarding, and you keep going and you keep trying. So having somebody who sees you and value you and just show you like, yeah, you're a fool, you're a person like me, it's great.
This is amazing that you brought up, because what I realized, modeling in New York is very hard for even beautiful, amazing people, because sometimes what they're looking for is just something that like some people don't have, even though they're still very beautiful, and plays with people's self-confidence, plays with everything else. So yeah, it's really important that you said that, Thomas. Thank you so much for this. I feel like I can go forever. Thank you, first of all, on this very deep conversation and sharing very insightful information, but also at the same time emotions that I didn't experience yet. This is my first time, and reason why I started this is because this is real. This is something that we are sharing with people, some kind of honesty and some kind of like value for someone who is going to listen, or maybe not. But I know that it will make me be a better person, but make me also feel better about myself, and to grow even more, to become a better person, to help someone to be better. And one more time, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this. This is very valuable for a lot of people.
Well, thank you for having me here, and I want to reinforce that, like, at the end of the day, like, we all going through a hard process of maturing, like becoming who we are, but we also like just like human, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, and what's going on, but we all have a different experience, and we all have a little demon, and we all have a little angel, and like we're going through things that we're proud, things that like we're ashamed of, and that's part of the process. At the end of the day, it's just like, who do you want to become, and how honest are you willing to be?
Yeah, I totally agree, and this is also powerful. Thank you, Thomas, and I wish you all the best. I know you're going to acting school, you're doing some real estate there, you're amazing guy, you have a lot of knowledge, and you have a lot of skills, and you have a lot of insight. I would say you have everything you need to have to become even better and better and better, like all of us. Thank you so much again, and I will see you maybe again here, who knows, about something different topic maybe.
I'll be back.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.